But let's cross over to the United States of America, find out what is happening currently. We're connecting with a Ghanaian there. Joining me now is Ransford Gisam, who's Doctor of Pharmacy in Maryland. Hello, Doc.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for your time. Let me ask you about the atmosphere. I mean, how does it feel right now? How do people feel about what's happening? Then we can get to the candidates involved.
I tell you, everyone is really excited here in the U.S. about the elections, and we're seeing really, really great numbers. Here in Maryland, we have about 4.1 million voters that are registered. By Sunday, there were about 2.3 million people that had already cast their votes. So that alone tells you how excited people are to go out and vote.
Let's talk about the two candidates. I mean, how do people feel generally about him? We know, of course, that Donald Trump has a base of, if you like, mostly white Americans. We also know that Joe Biden is the one that's pushing the agenda and saying that if you vote me because we haven't been able to properly deal with coronavirus under Donald Trump. We can deal with immigration better, etc. How do people feel about these two people and the sort of what they are offering to the people of America?
Right. So yes, these two candidates pretty much offer two divergent views, and especially with immigration, Donald Trump, has been called a racist by so many people because of some of his policies, punishing some of these sanctuary cities where there are a lot of immigrants that are, offered accommodation, offered a better choice of living. So, I mean, Donald Trump is seen as the racist person. I mean, that's not my view, but that's the perception that's out there that, Donald Trump leans more towards the white supremacy and does not give so much opportunities to the blacks or the immigrants. So, I mean, with Trump's campaign of hope, Biden's campaign of hope, he's encouraging people, especially the blacks, to go out and vote, pretty much because there are so many policies that he touted, especially helping families that are separated. We recently saw how there are so many families that were separated at the border, and mothers being left outside to just stay by themselves, and then their kids, they don't even know where they are. So there are so many things on immigration that especially the blacks are so excited about voting. In 2016, we saw a low turnout, especially among the blacks. But this year, they are so excited. They just couldn't wait for the 4 years to come, and they are so much enthusiastic about voting. The other thing is also about the handling of the pandemic. So we've all seen how President Trump keeps fighting with the scientists, always has divergent views. Whenever the scientists say something about the virus and how to go about it, he chooses his own way of tackling it, and anyone who doesn't see eye to eye with him, he pretty much tries to push away. So it's just a lot of differences between these two people that hopefully by end of day we'll see how it's going. As of now, I feel like it's too close to call. There are so many people that are rooting for both candidates, and especially in some of the toss-up states as Arizona, in North Carolina, in Pennsylvania. These are places that you don't even know who is going to win in these places.
Well, hopefully we'll find out sooner than later. But you talked about coronavirus, which of course is a very big issue as far as this election is concerned. So I won't spend too much time on that. But one thing also that has come to play is police brutality against people of color. And I know it's a big deal for especially for black black or African Americans or black people in general, even if you're not originally African American.
Right.
What does this election mean to people like that, including yourself?
So, I mean, including myself, I see this as a chance of correcting so many wrongs. Recently, there was a video that circulated worldwide that everyone saw about the police killing George Floyd. it's happened so many times. It's happened so many times, and the policies are just not in place. And so this is an election that Biden is offering a hope. Biden is seems to be offering hope to many Black people that when he comes in, he's going to change a lot of things. And I'm sure his message is really sinking in, because currently Donald Trump has been seen as what, empowering the white supremacists. Recently, there was a shooting in Wisconsin. He got the opportunity to condemn the perpetrators, but he rather seemed to empower them with what he said, you know. So basically, Biden is really, really, really getting all the shots. He's getting all the shots in this regards. And there are a lot of people who feel like when he comes in, he'll be able to do something better than we're seeing right now. And I mean, for some, it's just like in the absence of good, bad is better, because they feel like Biden has been there. And that's something that Trump has been saying, that Biden has been there in the presidency, even though he wasn't the president, he was a vice president, and he had a chance to change a lot of these things, but he did not. But Biden is also saying that, you know, we did a lot of things to change things, but because I wasn't in the helm of affairs, this time when I come in and being the president, I'll be able to change a lot of things. And that's a message that is sinking into a lot of people, especially the Blacks. Okay. And I believe most of them will be voting for him.
And speaking of which, Doc, I'll come back to, so we'll talk a little bit about coronavirus, because I understand you're one of the doctors on the front line. But speaking of the Blacks, and you say that the message seems to be going down well with them, but do the Blacks have enough, or are there enough people, voters, to be specific, who can outnumber the base or the people that believe, or the Trump supporters who would have been registered to vote?
Right. They don't necessarily have the numbers, but they can make a great impact. In 2016, there were surveys that were done, and there were a lot of people who just showed apathy. And the greater percentage of that were the Blacks. So, as I said, most of them are really, really energized, and they've gone out to vote. We've had record numbers, and there's a lot of Blacks that have already voted. Okay. And not just the Blacks, but there's Hispanic votes as well. And there are certain people also who are sitting on the fence, not necessarily Black or Hispanic. Some of them are still white, and they've seen a lot of things that have gone wrong with this administration, especially dealing with climate change, handling of the COVID virus. You know, so there's so much that all these other races are, you know, just jumping on board with Biden.
Is security an issue? I mean, we've heard from media organizations within the U.S. that are reporting on several measures that have been put in place, you know, to bring about some security. We understand people are even hoarding food. It looks as if people expect that there will be some kind of violence, and this is the United States of America in 2020. Yeah. How is that? How do people talk about that?
So, I mean, for myself, I've got several text messages from families, and yeah, people are hoarding food items and all that. But it's just because of some of the speeches that are coming from the president, especially with mailed-in ballots. He's realized that there are a lot of Democrats that are voting by mail, and that's something that he's really against. So his view is that if these people are going to cast their votes, they should have done it earlier by mail. And so he doesn't want some of these votes to be counted after today. And that's what is bringing the problem. And he's saying that, you know, if they're going to keep counting these votes after tomorrow, then there's going to be violence. And I don't know what he's standing on to say that. I mean, he's the president, but everyone is just cautious at this time. Everyone is really cautious. It's just because of the speeches that are coming from the president. And it's just the president that those speeches are coming from.
My final word is back to you on the coronavirus. Now, you are on the front line, I understand. I'm wondering how you feel about this particular election. What are your personal stance, you know, on this election, given that you have been at the forefront of the fight against coronavirus, and how the U.S. has dealt with it or handled it? People have said that President Donald Trump has not done very well with that.
Yes, yes. So with the coronavirus, I mean, the things that really drive this is testing, tracing, and treatment. And currently, there's some vaccines that are in the development process. It's all about science. It's all about science. And what I've seen with President Trump is he tends to, believe in whatever that he wants to believe in, not to follow the science. And that's the only issue that I have with him.
Okay.
There are so many scientists that are advising him as to what to do, but especially we have Dr. Fauci, who recently fell out with him.
Because Dr. Fauci somehow seems to have a bit of a soft spot for democratic positions, doesn't he?
Yes, definitely. And I mean,
so you can't really fault Trump for not really trusting his scientific. So you can't really fault Trump for not really trusting his scientific,
Yes,
directions. Right.
Yes.
Anyway, well, we'll see how it goes, and we'll see how it ends for the people of the United States. I'm sure that will probably come back to you. But you've done a very good job with doing the journalism there for us. I think you should consider that as part of your job.
Thank you. I will. I sure will. Thank you.
Okay. I've been talking to Dr. Ransford Gisam, his doctor of pharmacy in Maryland. And as you've heard him, a lot of things that matter to the people, especially people of color, people of, Hispanic origin, etc. We'll see how it goes. Earlier here on Joy News, the U.S. ambassador to Ghana, Stephanie Sullivan, talked about the Electoral College that she says should not be taken for granted. She's been speaking with Israel Lai.
The votes, and there's a timetable. So one of the things I want to emphasize today is that it's going to take quite a bit of time for all the results, all the votes to be counted, and for the Electoral College process to play out after the votes are counted. So people shouldn't expect to stay up all night and necessarily get the results as has happened in the past. Now, the governors of each state will certify the results of the votes when they're counted, and then the electors will cast their votes, and the results will be communicated to the Congress. And all of this plays out over weeks and months, culminating in the inauguration at noon on January 20th of whomever is elected president. This kind of glossing over, I can go into more detail if you like, because it is confusing, but I will just say that any candidate or political party ignores the importance of the Electoral College at their peril.
All right, so we're expecting that if you have 270 Electoral College votes, then you're going to be the winner. But you're also saying that it's going to take us quite a bit of time before we get to know who the eventual winner is. Is that correct?
Right, and that's not so much because of the Electoral College, although that's always been in place, but it's more related to the fact that there's so many votes that have already been cast early because of the pandemic, largely, and also for convenience, et cetera. So already there are about 95 million votes that have been cast, and it will take each state time to count all of those votes, as well as to count the votes that will be cast in person today. And each state has its own protocols for when they can even begin to count the votes. And some of the key states, some of the swing states where these precious electoral votes are not, let's say, a foregone conclusion because of history and expected turnout, that will take some time. So I guess I want to urge everyone patience with the process. It's time tested, and we'll see. We'll have the results when they're ready.
Stay with us here on Joy News. We'll bring you comprehensive coverage from 12 midnight right here on the Joy News channel. Let's do a very quick break. When we return, we'll talk to you about a survey conducted by the NCCE. They're telling us what will determine or will influence the vote of Ghanaians based on their survey. We'll give you the highlight and tell you why.